Welcome to Charts Today. My name is David Linton, and today's edition for Wednesday, the 16th of January, comes to you from London. And we had the vote on the Brexit deal last night in the UK, and there was a massive vote against that deal. So it'll be very interesting to see how markets are reacting to that. But interestingly, the dollar is still looking bullish on the short-term trend, but still with downside targets. So a mixed picture there. If we look at the euro is up this morning, but also weaker against the dollar. Japanese yen, we're seeing the dollar just rising a little bit here, but medium term quite bearish still. Sterling is up slightly against the dollar, which is quite surprising given that vote, and up against the euro as well, sitting in the 113 level. 110 is the critical level for the euro sterling chart, and we have got some upside targets here on the short term chart, 115, 116, but downside targets still hang over us. So a very mixed picture there. And against the Swiss franc, we're seeing sterling climbing as well. Against the Aussie dollar, sterling is higher as well. Remembering this is my long term, my medium term, and my short term picture. Weekly, daily, 60-minute charts here. Taking a look at Bitcoin, we see up 1%, but really still struggling on the charts. Looking at the US stock market, was up quite strongly last night, about 1% in the S&P 500, so the recovery continues. Looking at the Nasdaq, we see also looking stronger here. But that medium-term chart is still worrying. We need to make a higher high to reverse this downtrend. And the Dow also was up 0.2% yesterday. The Russell 2000, which is the broader-based index, not recovering as sharply, so not all rises across the board. Looking at the futures this morning, the S&P future up 0.3%, the Nasdaq E-mini up 0.1%. So bit hard to call which way the US markets are going to open. The FTSE 100 down very slightly, which again is a surprise given that Brexit votes. The market's taking it very much in its stride. The market was expecting the vote to fail, and so it's kind of already priced in. And the FTSE 250, the mid caps in the UK, is actually up a third of a percent. So the smaller caps taking yesterday's vote in their stride. The DAX up 0.05%, so a little change this morning. The CAC Quarante up 0.4%, looking a bit stronger. We saw Tokyo was down 0.25%, Hang Seng was up 0.25%, and China very little changed. So still the long-term bearish picture there persists. The Indian stock market, the Sensex up 0.2%, and the Aussie market up a third of a percent, looking stronger on that short-term chart. Brent crude is back above $60, so we're looking more bullish there. $61 this morning, so that's looking much better. And so we are seeing a stronger recovery there as well. And WTI also looking better as well, sitting at 52.30. US nat gas sitting higher at $3.47. So really holding on to this mid $3 level, having had quite big gyrations over the last several weeks. Looking at gold, we're back at the 1290 level. We were in the 1280s yesterday. Fairly flat on the chart. We've run up in December, and then we're just going fairly flat in January. The upside target's still there for gold, so another leg up is quite likely. Move sideways and then another leg up. 1350 being the big level that we need to break. Silver. Not looking quite as clear on the short-term chart, quite choppy, but a similar picture as you might expect. US 10-year yields sitting at 2.73%, so not much action there. Bond yields, bonds in the German market rising higher, so we're seeing bonds rising as a result. This data all coming from Thomson Reuters Icon, or if you're a private user, Metastock Zenith. It's exactly the same system. Looking at the Nasdaq, this is the data coming from Yahoo, so just coming from the internet, and Yahoo's again really powerful. My weekly chart, my daily, and my daily. Don't have 60-minute data with the internet data there, but I've got a on balance volume chart and also a relative chart to the Dow, so quite useful. So we see here the rises. The Nasdaq was up nearly 2% yesterday, and we see a sea of green really across the board there. Looking at the Nasdaq stocks themselves, we can just see quickly that the best performers Insight was up 7%, Netflix up a massive 6.5%. Now looking bullish on that short-term chart, so that's pretty good. Amazon also was up 3.5%. Alphabet was up 3.3%. So I'm seeing some pretty big performances here. Tesla up 3% as well, and Apple, the bellwether, up 2%. So in line with the market, but its relative still looking quite vulnerable there. Taking a look at the Aussie market, a lot of stocks up. We saw the market's up 30%. Ausdrill have up another 8%, but still looking pretty dire on the chart. On the downside, we've got Iluka Resources. Remember, you can click on any stock that you already hold. So we could say Vocus Group, and you get the long term, the medium term, the short term, with all the price targets as well, and the relative performance. So it's a very good screen for just looking at that. Chinese stocks were little changed. We saw we've got a lot of green and a lot of red. So in the main Sensex 50, not much action there. The Hong Kong market was up about 0.25%, and we are seeing some stocks doing pretty well. Sino-Pharma were up 7%, but again, a lot of these charts still in serious downtrends despite these rises. So we have to take these into context. The Nifty 50 in India, India bulls again. We're seeing big rises in India bulls off the bottom, but is it a recovery? A bit early to say yet. We see these live prices coming in from Yahoo. I have Updata set to every minute, just take the prices and update the charts, so that's quite cool. And looking at the Nikkei 250, again, the top performers, Yamamoto Holdings and Itstan Moskoki down 5.5%. So we're still seeing a lot of bearish looking charts there. Looking over to Europe this morning, taking a look at the FTSE 100, the best performers in the FTSE 100 have got Royal Mail up 4%. They had a dire year last year. Persimmon up 4%. Housebuilders breathing a little bit of a sigh of relief, strangely, on that Commons vote. We've got Persimmon up 4%, Barrett up 3%, Taylor Wimpey up 3%, Barclay Group up 2%. So we're seeing house builders actually putting in quite strong recoveries there, and we see here this medium-term chart recovering the long-term chart, just holding on to its trend. So we're seeing pretty good performance from a lot of the house builders. Stocks that have been hit this morning: Pearson's down 5%, Bunzl down 3.8%, Everaz down 2.6%. Seeing quite a lot of the commodity stocks down here, and retail, of course. We're seeing Burberry down as well. So quite interesting that the hit that we're seeing there. Taking a look at the FTSE 250, just ranking the list here. Capita up 5%. They've had a terrible time last year, of course, but look like they might be trading off the bottom there. Bovis Homes, another house builder, up quite strongly. So we are seeing that across the board. On the downside, we've got Cineworld down 5%, Hochschild down 4%, the Rank Group down 2%. So we are still seeing some poor performances, a pretty mixed picture. Euro Stock 600, looking at the rises here, Capita's in that leaderboard there. Norske Hydro up 4.7%. Fuchs Petrolub up 4%, and looking at the downside, Cineworld actually sitting in that ever, as a lot of those London stocks that we just talked about sitting in the list there. So quite significant that we are seeing still some poor performers across the board. Not a completely rising market, but the picture is looking pretty good given the UK vote. That's it for today. Until tomorrow, happy charting. See you then.